You wake up, everything is fine. That's the problem. The life you worked for is exactly where you left it. And somewhere between the alarm and the first cup of coffee, before the day fills up again, a question surfaces. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and patient. Is this it? You have learned to move past it quickly, but it comes back. It always comes back. Leo Tolstoy knew this question, not as a philosopher, as a man who almost didn't survive it. By 1879, Tolstoy was 50 years old and the most celebrated writer alive. War and Peace, Anna Karenina, a vast estate at Yasyana Polyana, 13 children, the kind of fame that fills rooms before you enter them. And he was hiding the ropes. Not metaphorically, literally. He removed every rope from his barn because he was afraid of what he might do with one in a quiet moment. He stopped carrying a rifle on hunts for the same reason. He wrote in his diary, "I was afraid of life. I was driven to leave it. And yet I hoped for something from it." This was not a man who had failed. This was a man who had won every prize the world offers and found nothing waiting behind them. He wrote about this period in a book called A Confession. It is one of the most honest things ever written, not because it is dramatic, because it is ordinary, because the question at its center is the same one that visited you last night, or last week, or in the middle of a perfectly good afternoon. Is there any meaning in my life that will not be destroyed by the death that is coming? He turned to science. It explained how things work, not why they matter. He turned to philosophy, arguments, not answers. He looked to the world around him, the educated, the successful, the admired, and what he found was worse than nothing. People who had quietly agreed to stop asking, to stay occupied, to wait. Tolstoy could not do it. Then one afternoon, he stopped walking and watched an old peasant on his estate. The man was cutting wood, simple, repetitive work. No audience, rough hands, worn clothes. A man the world would have walked past without a second glance. But his face was calm, not happy in any obvious way, just present, as if the question, "What is the point of this?" had never taken root in him, not because he hadn't suffered, but because he was living in a way that left less room for it to grow. Tolstoy stood there for a long time. He wrote, "Rational knowledge brought me to the recognition that life is meaningless. My life stopped, but I looked at real people and saw something different, a relationship with life itself." It was not a sudden revelation, it was slower than that, and harder, almost against his will. He began to see something he had spent 50 years looking past, that meaning does not live where he had been searching for it. He started making his own boots. He worked alongside the peasants in the fields. He gave away large portions of his wealth. His wife wept and argued. She had not married a cobbler. His literary friends wrote letters asking what happened to him. The world that had celebrated him watched, bewildered, as he chose a smaller life. He didn't explain himself. He just kept going. For the first time in years, the question had quieted. Not because he had answered it, because he had changed the conditions in which it lived. What Tolstoy found was not a philosophy you can hold at arm's length and examine. It was something you can only find by doing it, by turning toward other people instead of away from them, by working at something that needs doing, whether or not anyone is watching, by choosing again and again, the specific and the real over the impressive and the abstract. He wrote near the end of his life, "One can live magnificently in this world if one knows how to work and how to love." Work and love, not legacy, not recognition, not the approval of people who are also running out of time. The emptiness you feel is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It may be a sign that something is right. The life you were handed, achieve this, acquire that, become someone worth admiring, does not answer the question. It was never designed to. Tolstoy had more of it than almost anyone who has ever lived, and it nearly destroyed him. What saved him wasn't a better idea. It was a different way of moving through a day. Smaller, more honest, pointed toward other people rather than toward an idea of himself. The question doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. It stops being what is the point of all of this and becomes something quieter, more possible. What is worth doing today? Tolstoy spent the second half of his life trying to answer that, imperfectly, contradicting himself, fighting with his wife until the very end, but honestly, more honesty than he had ever lived before. He died at 82 in a small railway station. He had left his estate in the middle of the night at 82 years old to finally live the way he believed he should. He didn't make it far, but he left. Maybe that is the whole answer. A few months ago, someone posted on the internet, anonymously, the way people tell the truth when they think no one is watching. They wrote, "I got the promotion. I moved into the apartment I always wanted. I called my mom to tell her, and she was proud. I hung up the phone and sat on the floor and cried, and I don't know why." Thousands of people replied, not with advice, just with, "I know exactly what you mean. That's not a modern problem. That's not a social media problem. That's not a problem therapy will fix or a vacation will solve. That is the same question Tolstoy was hiding ropes from 1879. The details change. The question doesn't." Thank you for watching, my dear friends.